Hi again. Here we are to talk about JavaScript, and this is the second in my series of daily JavaScript. But actually, this isn't daily because there's been an extra day in between the first one and this one. But anyway, we'll go for it. So I have this example, and what's happening here is I imagine this white area as a header for my page. And as I scroll the page, when the header, moves above the top edge of the page, I want to have an alternate header that kind of pops down like this. You kind of see this on sites like Medium, and a few other sites do this, and I thought this was an interesting idea. So as I scroll up there, you can see, I just have these colored boxes here to kind of make some space there on this example page, but imagine that this height right here is, 100 or 200 pixels or something. And then, as the header comes out of view, then this other header pops down. Okay, so how are we going to do this? I did this one in another file, but let's just start from scratch and we'll make our own file. What I did was I used a little bit of JavaScript here, so this is really not that much code to make that happen. And we're using, jQuery and scroll. So the scroll we're attaching to the window object. So when the window scrolls up above a certain amount, then we want to apply some code here. Okay. So let's build this from scratch, and we can do it on our own. So let me do this. I'll just delete all this stuff here. And then we'll go back to our index page. And I'm using Bootstrap at the moment on this example. So I'll just leave the Bootstrap code in there. And maybe I'll delete all of this stuff here. So I just have the body tag with a div called main inside it. And then I have some styles here in my style sheet too. And maybe we'll delete all that also. Oops. Let's delete all that stuff and we'll just start over again. Okay, so like I said, I'm using Bootstrap, so it's got some extra stuff in here, but we're just going to put our code inside here, right? So anyway, so here we are. And how are we going to get started? Well, the first thing we need to have an item to act as the header. I'm just going to put a div in here to be simple, and we'll call this, we'll give it an ID name. You could use a class name here too. I'm going to give it an ID name of nav. Okay? Let's call it nav1. How about that? And then inside here, maybe we'll make a list of elements for our nav, right? So maybe there's an anchor here, and this will be, just some, placeholder thing. Call that item A. And then I'll make a few more links here. I'll call this like B, C, and D. And the way that my nav is going to work is this nav number 1 will be our first header, the one we see normally. And then when the page scrolls and this one moves up off the top of the screen, we'll display a second header, okay? And what we'll do is we'll just make another one, okay? And these can use, I'm gonna copy this markup here to save a little time and paste it here. But these could be completely different with completely different content. I'll give this guy an ID name of nav number 2, okay? And then we'll need some page content. So what I'll do is I'll just make a couple divs down here and give these guys a class name of, box or something. And maybe this first one right here will have an ID name of, A. I just want to be able to give them some different colors maybe or something, right? So imagine this is like A, B, C, and D. And now, we just need to style these things, right? So let's go into our style sheet. So remember, I got nav1, nav2, and then ABCD and box class, right? So we'll go into our style sheet, and here we'll say, okay, well, nav1, you're going to have a height of, a lot of times I don't like to set the height, but for this example, I don't have a lot of content, so, I'm going to set the height just to give things some space, but let's give this a height of 200. And then, let's say, everybody that's a box is going to have a height of, 400 or something, right? And then maybe for the colored boxes, right, we'll give it, a random color. Let's make it background color yellow. We'll just use the keywords, right? And the, background here of cyan. We'll just do the ABC. We'll do the the CMYK colors, right? So what do we got? Magenta. Oops, wait, I got the wrong name there. Let's do background. Magenta. And then D will be background black. Okay, there you go. So let's take a quick look here and see what we got. And there we go. So I got my two lists. There's one list, there's another list, and then I got my CMYK colors, right? So there we go. So now what's going to happen is let's arrange this top area here, which actually, the 200 pixels is really to here, and then this list is kind of sandwiched in between the two, right? So, really this is going to meet the yellow, and then we're going to do something special with this area, right? So, so anyway, there's our list. Let's make these list items go across horizontally, and then we can style this list differently, right? So let's do that now in our style sheet here. So what do we want to do there? Maybe up here on nav1, we'll say nav1, and then ul, and then nav1 li. So note the space here, right? So I'm using the descendant selector, okay? And then the comma is the group. So we're selecting the ul inside nav1 and the li inside nav1, both with the comma, right? So there we go. And then we'll say you guys are going to have a list style of none, and that will remove the bullet point. And then we'll say, padding of 0 and margin of 0. And if you were using a reset style sheet or something, it would have already gotten rid of that, but I don't have that. So I'm just going to do it here. And then maybe for our list items, we'll do this. We'll say nav1a to get all the A tags. You guys are going to be display. Let's do inline block. How about that, right? And then maybe we'll give them, how about text decoration, none, get rid of the underline, and then maybe we'll give them a little bit of padding. How about padding of half an M or something, right? And then maybe a background color of black and a text color of white, something like that, right? So let's save that, and we'll take a quick look here. Oh, so that looks pretty good. My inline block thing isn't working there for some reason. Let's go check it, right? Probably because they're inside this li, and so the li is actually a block, so it's lining up. I suppose we could declare this guy as inline block. Instead, maybe I'll just do this. I'll just declare them display block and do float left. How about that, right? And then we can just remember they're floated and clear them or something. So we'll save that and then refresh. Oh, there's everybody's in a row now, right? Maybe I need a little space up here. I don't want these like flush in the upper corner. So let's give them a little bit of margin maybe, right? You know, this doesn't have to be perfect. We'll just say margin of like, I don't know, 5 pixels there, right? Oh, so that looks okay. You know, maybe a little too much space there, but whatever, right? So anyway, so there's our stuff. So now we got the page scrolling. Now what about this thing? Okay, so with these guys, what I want to do is I want to make another menu, and let's just plan this one out, you know, before we add the JavaScript, and we'll just get it to sit on top of everything that's here, right? So I just want to see this thing sitting in the upper corner here and covering everything that's there, and it'll go all the way across, right? So let's go and get that, and that's going to be nav number 2. So I'll put it here below nav 1. So we'll do nav 2, and this is the div, right? So nav 2, you're going to be position fixed. Okay, so it'll just be fixed on the page, and then we'll give it a left of 0, top of 0, okay? And a width of 100%. So that'll make it, you know, if we leave it, you know, I'll leave this width 100% off for a moment, right? So if I leave that off and then refresh it, you know, you can actually, you know, I guess I gotta give it a color so we can see it. Let's do background, and we'll do an RGBA color so it's transparent. And maybe we'll do, we'll make it red for right now, and that'll make it super visible so we can see it, right? So if I give this a background color of a transparent red, we'll get this, right? So whenever we assign fixed position to something, that element, you know, the width of it collapses to just the size of the content. Okay, so the size of this thing is going to be the size of the content. It collapses. Normally, like these boxes, we gave them a height, but the width expands to fill the area, right? Because there's nothing special. They're using the regular, you know, auto layout method, right? Okay. So for this guy, we're going to have to give him, you know, in order for it to go all the way across the page, we're going to have to assign it a width of 100%. Okay. So we'll save that, and then now our box goes all the way across, right? So now let's get these menu items to kind of look like the other ones, right? We'll give them a little bit different style, but we'll style them this way. We'll say nav2 ul, comma, nav2 space li, and we'll give these guys, you know, list style none, and margin 0, padding 0. Okay, so there we go, and we'll refresh this, right? So now these guys are looking pretty good. So now we just got to get them to, you know, go in a row. So let's go back to our style sheet here, and we'll say nav to a. And the anchor tags, we'll do the same tactic we did above. We'll say display block, float left, okay? And when we float these, the outer div nav2 will probably collapse to a 0 height, right? So we'll have to give this a height potentially. So or fix it another way, right? We could fix it with a clear also. I'll just give it a height because that'll be fast and easy. So maybe we'll give each one of these guys right here, we'll give them a, oops, I forgot the semicolon there. And maybe we'll give each one of the anchor tags, we give them display block. Let's give them text decoration none, and let's give them a line height of 40 pixels or something, right? maybe we'll make this 60 pixels tall, right? And then that way I'll give nav2 a height of 60. Oops, why did I type in 10? I said 60, right? There we go, right? So we'll give that 60. And then we've got float left. Maybe we need a little bit of margin or something between them two, or some padding, right? But a little bit of spacing. I'll just leave it like this for now, and we'll adjust it later. But let's refresh it. Oh yeah, so there's all my links. They're kind of pushed up against each other, but there we see them, right? And they're right in the middle. You know, the line height, using the line height here is a simple way to center them vertically, right? So as long as the line height matches the height of this thing, they'll sit right in the middle. Anyway, so we'll add a little bit of space around these guys in a minute, right? Maybe we'll do it this way. We'll do maybe we'll just do it right now. We'll say padding. And since I already have the line height set up, we'll do padding top and bottom of 0, and then padding on the left and right of, 0.5 em. So it'll be like 1 character, okay? Oh, and there's a little bit of space. Hard to read that, but when the menu moves out of the way, then these will be a little bit clearer to read, okay? So anyway, so we're set up pretty good now, and that looks pretty good. And now we just need to apply some JavaScript, okay? So let's do that. Now, understand that I used Bootstrap here, right? So when I used Bootstrap, the default Bootstrap came with jQuery already, installed. So I didn't do that. But we'll look up here and you can see somewhere, what do they got? They got script modernizer. Wait, they must put it at the bottom here. Oh yeah, here it is, right? So we got script, Ajax, Google APIs, jQuery min.js, right? So they're importing that. So that's already imported for us. And then they've got, js.main.js. So they're, connected to this JavaScript file here. And I've got that open over here. So here's my JavaScript. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to select nav2 and hide it, right? We could have done this in our style sheet too, I guess, but since I'm gonna make JavaScript handle this thing, I'm gonna do this in JavaScript. So in the CSS here, let's set the top property to a value of, and the height of that extra nav is 60 pixels. So what I want to do is I want to move this 60 pixels off the top. So let's set this to -60, okay? And we'll save and refresh it here, and then our menu is gone. And you can't see it there. Well, I guess if I do this very carefully, actually I saw it for a second there, but it's right above the edge here, okay? And if I pull it down, it's not showing it to me, but it should be right up above the top there, okay? So that's working pretty good. And so then what I want to do is I want to have a variable to keep track of whether or not the upper menu is displayed or not, okay? So maybe we'll say nav2 is hidden, okay? And I'll set that to true because, nav2 is hidden right now, right? I just hid it right here, okay? So we'll make a variable for that. And then what we want to do is we want to use, jQuery has a little helper method called scroll, okay? And this is a function that tells us when the page scrolls, right? And so we can find out, when the page is scrolling, like it'll send us a message. Let's do console.log here and say, scroll, right, like that, right? So whenever the window scrolls, right, we're going to see a message in the console. Let's do a quick test, right? So I'll open up my console here. And let's go. Do I have an error already? Let's see. Console. Oh, just some, failed to load some file, but I think that's just a thing with the modernizer script, so I'm not going to worry about that. And let's scroll the page. Hey, wait a minute, where's my scroll there? Let's refresh our page, right? And then scroll it. Oh yeah, look, so I'm scrolling, and you can see, you know, every time the page moves, it starts adding more messages to the scroll, you know, event right here, the scroll, you know, message, right? So so that's working. So now what I want to do is I want to find out like where the window is scrolled to, right? So why don't we do this? Why don't we say, you know, we can say window.scrollTop, right? And that'll tell us like how far the window has scrolled from the top edge of the browser. So the content in the browser, like how far it's moved up or down compared to the actual top edge of the browser, okay? So, so here we go. So we'll say window.scrollTop, okay? And we'll refresh it here. And you can see it says 281. I don't know why, but oh, I guess because the window was scrolled, you know, because I hadn't gone all the way down. But here we are. So now we're at scroll 0, and I move up a little ways, and that's 81. And then you can see when we get to here, it's about 200, right? Because remember, the white area here had a height of 200. So when this edge right here gets to the top edge here, ScrollTop will be 200. Okay, so let's see. So let's use that, right? We'll put a comment here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, like, you know, if window.scrollTop, no wait, dot scrollTop is greater than 200. Right, so if that's the case, then we want to, you know, essentially, you know, show, you know, nav2, right? And now this has a little problem because, you know, once we get to 200 and we keep scrolling, we're going to get this message, and this thing's going to be true every single time, right? You know, let's do an example with that, right? Let's see. So I'll do console log, right? And then we'll say, you know, like show nav2, okay? And let's see what happens, right? So we'll save this, and when I refresh it, you can see that, you know, as I scroll up, nothing's happening, right? And then when I get to the menu, and it's just about up to the top here. Oh wait, you know, I got an error there. Let's see, unexpected token colon something. Oh, because I put the colon instead of the semicolon. Let's save that again, right? And scroll to the top and refresh it, right? So now you can see nothing's happening because the scroll top is less than 200. And right here, when the white area leaves, you can see all of a sudden it says show nav2, but it says, you know, it's been doing it 21 times or 30 times. It's still doing it every time we scroll, right? And that's not what we want. We need this to happen one time, right when the line crosses the top edge of the screen, right? Just once. And then it shouldn't happen again until we scroll back down again, okay? And it should happen only once when the top edge, you know, that top white header area leaves the view, okay? And that's what we're going to use nav2 is hidden for, okay? So we're going to say, if the scroll top is greater than 200, and we use the double ampersand, right? Let me zoom in on this, right? So we're going to use the double ampersand here. We're going to say, and nav2 is true, or nav2 hidden is true, right? So if this is greater than 200 and the navbar is hidden, you know, that's the situation where we want to show nav2. Okay, so we'll show nav2. And then what we'll also do here is we'll say nav2 hidden equals false, because at this point we're showing nav2. Okay, let's add another little section here, right? So down at the bottom here, we're going to say else, right? If, okay, and so here's another situation, like this is where we're going to hide nav2. Okay, And so here we'll say, you know, else if window dot, you know, scroll, oops, I did it again here, scrollTop is less than 200, right? So if it's less than 200 and nav2 hidden, and we can do equals false, right? But actually I'm going to write it like this, right? That would be not nav2 is hidden, right? This means, you know, if this is true, then this thing makes it false right there, and that's just kind of a simpler way to write that. So in this case, you know, the scrollTop is less than 200 and the nav bar is showing because it's, you know, not hidden, right? Then we want to set, we'll just borrow this right here because we kind of just want to undo that, right? So we want to set this to true because now the nav bar should be hidden, and here we should hide the nav bar, okay? So let's give that a try. Let's go back to our code here, and we'll refresh it. Oh, I got an error, unexpected identifier. What did I do there? Line 12. Let's see here. Oh, because I forgot to put the dot in. There we go, right? So there we go. Hide that and refresh it again. And now I'm scrolling, you know, hey, wait, $.screenTop is not a function. Hey, wait a minute. Let's go take a look. Did I make another mistake here? Oh, because I said screen-top. What did I let the code hints type that. I was typing too fast, right? So we'll do window.scrollTop. Sorry about that. And we'll save it. We'll try it one more time. And there we go, right? So now I'm scrolling. You know, nothing happens because this is, you know, not less than or not greater than 200, and screen-top is not true. And then when I scroll to here, it says show nav2, and it just shows it once. Okay? And then when I come down, when the white area comes into view, it says hide nav2 just once. Okay? And then if I go up above, it says show nav2 one time, and then down below, hide nav2. Okay, so that's exactly the effect that we want. So now, how do we show and hide the nav bar? Well, you know, there's a lot of ways you could do this. You could do it with CSS alone and maybe just add or remove a class. Maybe I'll do that later. But for this example here, we'll just use jQuery animate just to make things simple. So, you know, if we're going to show the nav, I want to set the top to 0. And if we're going to hide it, I want to set the top to -60. So here we're going to show nav2. So what we'll do is we'll say, you know, jQuery nav2 dot animate, and the property we want to animate is the top to a value of, I guess we don't even need the quotation marks if we do 0, and then we can say a time of, you know, 400 milliseconds or something. And then down here we can say nav2 dot animate, property we want to animate is the top. The value will be -60 because that's, you know, the value that will hide it. You know, it's got a height of 60. And we'll set the time to 400. Okay, so that's pretty good there. That wasn't too complicated. And we'll save it and test it here. So there's our script there. And then as I scroll up, oh, there's my nav bar, right? And then as I scroll down, when the white area comes into view, the nav bar leaves, right? So there we go. So there's a simple example for you. Hopefully that's useful. I mean, you know, you could build on this in a lot of ways. The important thing to remember is the whole idea of this variable keeping track of whether or not the item is showing, because that's sort of the key feature that's making this whole thing function well, okay? So thanks a lot for watching. I hope that was useful to someone, and thanks again.